The Honourable Phil Goff.
Just heard an appallingly ignorant speech from the Minister of Defence. I heard him a moment ago justify laws which allow New Zealand to be exploited as a tax haven as being okay because it advantages New Zealand. That's what the Minister said. That's what his Hansard will show. I want to tell that Minister that $10 billion were made by multinational companies in New Zealand last year, and they paid $1.8 million in tax on it. They paid tax at a lower rate than the lowest paid person in New Zealand.
Order. A point of order, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr. Chairman, I hesitate to take the point of order, but I think it's worth pointing out that in this debate about external relations, it's inappropriate to confuse revenue with profit.
Order. Order. Member, resume a seat. The Minister and the Chair knows that that was not a point of order. He will stand, withdraw and apologise.
Withdraw and apologise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Time starting again.
Thank you. I think the point is that if New Zealanders are deeply disturbed that we are being ripped off by multinational companies making $10 billion a year out of New Zealand and paying just $1.8 million a year in tax, we want to see an international system that stops that sort of tax dodging and evasion. And if we are not prepared to crack down on entities that are using New Zealand as a tax haven, how are we going to get the cooperation of international countries to stop people ripping us off? And that's the point that the Minister totally missed. I want to, first of all, Mr. Speaker, speaking to the Defence Financial Review, acknowledge the work done by our men and women in uniform overseas. I had the privilege for 9 years of serving as Minister of Foreign Affairs and Defence and seeing the sheer professionalism and commitment of the New Zealand Defence Force. And I've got to say that the Kiwi emblem worn on the shoulders of those men and women are something that make us proud, because that Kiwi emblem stands for decency and professionalism in the work they do and are continuing to do today in Fiji. But the Financial Review, Mr. Chairman, is about accountability of the Minister, and I want to hold the Minister to account, and I want to put 4 questions to him. 4, because I think he can count that far and he'll be able to remember the questions. The first question is about the training of Iraqi soldiers in Taji, Camp Taji. He was up there, the Prime Minister was up there, and last month he did a review on the effectiveness of the $30 million that we invest in that. Now, we are not privy to that review yet, but we do have the American Department of Defence review on Taji and the effectiveness of the training. And these are the questions I've got for the Minister. This report says that the conditions under which those Iraqi trainees are living, without power, without water, are appalling. They detract from the effectiveness of the defence training that we can do, and they cause a very high level of desertion, absence without leave. I want to know, when the Minister was over there, whether he was aware of that fact. High levels of absence without leave, appalling conditions, and conditions so bad they detracted from our ability to do the training that would be worthwhile. Did he ask questions about that? Did he challenge the conditions that they were living under, or was it just a PR exercise to be over there wearing his flak jacket? The report also says the real problem with the Iraqi army is the ineffective and corrupt leadership. Did the Minister ever raise that, asking why our guys are doing the best they can in training while their efforts are being undermined by a corrupt and ineffective Iraqi leadership? And this report says another thing. It talks about the inadequacy of the equipment. We're trying to teach these guys how to do basic things like fire a gun. Well, they were issued a rifle to use the correct term. They were issued with 300 M16s, the Iraqi trainees, and 7 cleaning kits for the rifles. How can we do the job when the equipment being provided to the people we're meant to be training is so thoroughly inadequate? And the report says that most of the equipment, or much of the equipment that's meant to be used by those men that are being trained, is siphoned off to go to the militias whose cause we don't even support. So that's the first question. The second question is about the poor relationship this minister has with the Defence Force. I read the annual report. It said that a Defence Minister had a 50% level of satisfaction with the advice he was getting from the Defence Force. Well, that's better than the 0% confidence that the Defence Force has in that minister, who is absolutely arrogant and out of touch. But I want to know why his relationship is so poor when that of his predecessors was actually quite good. I want to know why that minister can come out and say things like the purchase of NH90s were a dreadful purchase, when Wing Commander Scott McKenzie, who runs 3 Squadron, said that these aircraft are the best thing that ever happened. Mark Mitchell heard him say that these aircraft ran rings around any alternative like the Black Hawk. They were really capable. Even his predecessors said the NH90s were a quantum leap forward. So is it the problem with the advice given by the Defence Force to the minister, or that he just doesn't hear it?
Ron Mark.